I bet you never noticed I could tell you what I wanted, and you never really stopped to think I'm going backwards. Lose track to think of it all after. Too bad it's moving too fast.
We're going. We're green light. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to That's Gross Hockey Podcast. I'm joined by these two handsome fellas, and we got some microphones today too, so we should sound a lot better. How you guys doing?
What's up, boys? Doing good. A lot to talk about. A lot of exciting Bruins things. Most exciting things we've seen all season. So excited to get into it. JB, how we doing?
Doing good, boys. Going under the knife tomorrow. So if this is the last time you ever hear me, it's been a pleasure. And yeah, let's get into it.
He's gonna be on the IR for a couple weeks here. It's all right. We'll save some cap money and we'll bring him back for playoffs. But yeah, it was a crazy day to be a Bruins fan. JB and I, we went to development camp. Well,
Boots on the ground.
a part of it. Yeah, we really just wanted to see the kid Hagens, and it's honestly a good experience to just check that rink out at Warrior, and watch obviously a ton of skill. So little scouting from the Gross boys. Jake couldn't make it. Too busy clocking in, clocking out, 9 to 5 grind.
I also live in Connecticut, so it's a bit of a hike for me.
That's also true. But yeah, all right, why don't we get into it? I mean, obviously we're Bruins, like, Boston-based guys. So the biggest news I would say of the free agency was Marner to Vegas. Like, that was obviously huge. Kind of heard rumblings about it for a little bit. Toronto loses their hometown hero. Do you guys have any thoughts on that overall, or?
Yeah, did you hear about that? If there was no sign-in trade deal, that like Toronto was going to go after them for tampering? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I heard something about tampering with them. I mean, what happens if they say there is tampering? Do you know?
I don't know. I think maybe you lose like a pick or something. Nothing major, I don't think, or maybe a fine. I'm not exactly sure, but
Yeah.
I don't know. From what I heard on from Jeff Merrick and Elliot Friedman talking on their podcasts, like the league wants to make an example out of someone.
And Vegas would be a good team to make an example out of.
They'd be the perfect team to make an example out of.
What about just like overall as a fit? Like, how do you guys think the Leafs, like, do you have any thoughts on how the Leafs are going to fare next year, or Vegas? Like, I personally think Vegas, that's a good move for them, just because I think they lacked a little of that scoring on the wings. Like, he's not a good fit in Toronto, clearly, but a team like Vegas that already has that playoff, center depth, all that.
Yeah.
He'll
Some
be-
established two-way forwards, too. You got Stone and Eichel, two of the best two-way forwards in the game. Don't need him to be that defensive. I mean, he's never been that defensive player ever, but you don't need him to be as much as you need him to be that in Toronto. Also, learn from the best.
Yeah. JB, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jake on that. I think as far as Vegas goes, I think it's going to be good for Marner. I think he's going to have a lot of runway in the regular season, which obviously he's proven to be pretty solid in that regard. But, when it comes to playoffs, he's not going to be the one that they're relying on. I mean, obviously we saw how that went with Toronto. So as far as that goes, I think it's a decent fit. I think he'll have a good season. Toronto, I'm just curious of what the impact's going to be on Toronto. Regular season, not having, a high production scorer like Mitch Marner in the lineup. It's going to give, I guess, some room to other guys coming up and see how they do. But I definitely think it's going to be good for Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with Toronto, they have enough guys like that who don't perform in the playoffs, where it's like they just have three guys you could argue who just kind of, or at least two, who are superstars and then just don't show up in the playoffs. So get him out of there. They need some support for Matthews. But yeah, I mean, the other move that I think we were all kind of more surprised by was the Brock Besser staying in Vancouver. that caught me by surprise. I think we were all talking about him being a potential Bruin, and we'll get into some Bruins talk here. I mean, I think we have some differing takes, but we're probably all on a relatively same page. So, Jake, what were your thoughts on Besser?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting that at all. I thought he was for sure gone. Um, I mean, from what I heard, bringing back Demko and Garland, those extensions played a huge part in that. Um, Even that, I'm still surprised he stayed there. Kind of seemed like he was turning the page and wanted to go somewhere else. But I mean, I guess good for Vancouver. They don't really have a lot going for them these days, especially with like the whole Pedersen situation, and then your
Yeah.
captain Quinn Hughes potentially leaving next year to go join his brothers. Um, yeah, good for them. Would have loved to make a push at him as a Bruins fan, but
They did. They did not. JB, you're on the Besser train.
I am on the Besser train. I think I might actually be at the front of the Besser train, but Mike, we were together. I think we were pretty much sitting next to Elliot Friedman there at Warrior Ice Center. We got the news pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So heard someone, talking, and quickly heard them bring up Besser and that he re-signed with Vancouver. So initial reaction, same thing with Jake. I wanted to obviously see the Bruins make a push towards him. I think where the Bruins are right now and the current assets that they have, also the age of the team in your core, I think he would have been a good fit. And it would have, I think probably minimized the outlook on time for the Bruins and when we see them really competing again. So, I think immediately I was not the happiest to hear that, but then, just having the conversations we did earlier, and I don't know, I think the Bruins are in a certain spot that we'll get into in a little bit, but obviously I wanted Besser.
Yeah, good point about Elliot Freeman. I forgot the New Balance wearing nacho eating Bruins fan next to us broke that. Yeah, he took.
I got to bring this up too, really quick.
Yeah.
Really quick. Took a quick pan over, right? So you brought up those were the shoes. Actually, the kid directly next to you had the mowing the lawn dad 100.
I call him the Red Sox fan 800s.
Brutal. But
Yeah.
More so, I was bringing up the thought of like cargo shorts. How do you feel about cargo shorts on an adult? Because those pockets weren't filled. So that's my thing, right? I think if you're going to go out in public wearing cargo shorts, I need to see something in the pockets.
You got to utilize them.
Yeah, it's like, because that's the argument, right? If I'm wearing cargo shorts and you're like, dude, why are you wearing those? It's like, well, buddy, they're stuffed with stuff. You know what I mean? I got so much in these pants.
I got my
No pun intended.
chain.
So, but yeah, you can continue. I just wanted to get the group's consensus on cargo shorts.
Yeah, I think Jake's on Tinder, but no, I wouldn't.
I'm actually looking at the Bruins' current cap projection. So nice try, buddy.
Oh, grinder. Gotcha.
He just swiped over real quick.
Kid's got the quickest thumbs in the Northeast.
No, it's a good point. I mean, I think you got to utilize your cargo shorts if you're using them. Otherwise, they're kind of irrelevant and they're a tough look. But, yeah, I mean, where were we? Just what? Besser took a good deal. Like, that's a very fair deal. I think we all would have taken that in Boston. I mean, there was a lot of contracts. I don't really know how much we should even get into them all because they don't really affect, like, no one really cares about every minor league or depth defenseman or whatever. Let's just get into the Bruins stuff, man. I mean, that's what we're all probably most interested in. And let's just start today because it's the most recent. So the Bruins sign Tanner Jeannot, Sean Kuraly, Michael Easimont, and they also traded for Victor Arvidsson. They made a few other
Jordan Harris as well.
Yeah, and Tufty, and I think that was it, right? Pretty much the main ones that, we just said. Jake, I know you're not a big fan of the Jeannot. My overall, and I'll just say this and then let you guys jump in. I don't have a huge problem with what they did. I think it's a little confusing, the moves they made, given what they needed. We all wanted Besser, Ehlers because they drive play, they score goals, something the Bruins have missed. they didn't get guys who fly off the page with that. But I will say, like, I don't hate any of it. I'm just a little confused by the amount of signings and the fact that you're just kind of like creating a lot of blockages for your depth and your young guys. But yeah, I'll throw it to you, either of you.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like Jeannot. I just don't get the 5 by 3.4. He had, I believe it was 2 or 3 seasons ago. He had a very good year. I think he had like almost 50 points. I believe that was the year that Tampa traded for him at the deadline from Nashville.
Yeah.
And then since then, he just hasn't really done much. Hasn't been putting up a lot of points. I think for an AAV of 3.4 million, you can get a better player there. Also, you kind of got like a lot of the same guys here. Like, I like the Sean Kuraly return. I do. I've always loved Sean Kuraly, but like, you want that guy like on your fourth line, and you're just filling up a lot of bottom six like spots from. You have like 9 guys in bottom that should be bottom 6 players, and I don't know. Isamont, I like, and even on the back end, like you got 3 7th defensemen right now. Like, why? I mean, like Jordan Harris is a solid signing, but you already got Soderstrom, and you just re-signed Michael Callahan. So, like, I mean, I'm just a little bit confused on what they're doing here. I'm thinking maybe they're getting a lot of pieces to sell at the deadline, so that makes me believe that they're not making a serious push for the playoffs. I mean, this roster doesn't look like it is near a playoff position to me, too, honestly, unless David Pastrnak puts up 150 points and carries the team on his back like he has for the last 2 years. But yeah, I want to hear you guys think. I've been kind of rambling here, but
Yeah, I mean, I can jump in. I agree with you. I think the volume of pickups is kind of what is confusing. Just to go back to, you brought up his big season, or the best year that he had. So that was the 21-22 season, finished with 41 points, 24 goals, 17 assists. So, some type of production is in him, but we really haven't seen that since. I mean, the years to follow after that, 14 points, 13 points. So it hasn't really been anything crazy. So yeah, I mean, definitely a little bit confusing. I agree with you. I think a lot of that has to do with their outlook on the season and probably what's going to happen come deadline time and where the Bruins are going to be at. So I would say that that's probably why they did it, which I don't think any of us love that. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much on the Jeannot, I guess, signing. At first, I honestly kind of liked it just because I didn't know which direction they were going. And then, 20, 30 minutes later, we got the Sean Kuraly and Isamont signing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, about Jeannot, like, I totally understand, like, what you guys are both saying. The thing is that it feels like kind of like a Frederick replacement. I just looked up his stats. Like, last year he had 8-7 for 15 points, -14. The year prior, he had 18-22 for 40 points. He's younger, he's faster. So I think the legit question to say is, like, if you're gonna get Jeannot, like, why did you trade Frederick? Is it the return? I don't think they got an incredible return. They got a second and a fourth, pretty much. Um, but yeah, I mean, going back to that trade that he went to Tampa, like, that was a massive trade. You got to think that they were thinking this is an up and coming young power forward playoff kind of guy. And yeah, he hasn't panned out, but maybe the Bruins aren't in a bad spot to take some like gamble signings, because if they can, he's 28. If they can turn him into a bottom, like a middle 6 player who can run guys, maybe that's a good thing. And let's be honest, like, I get it, like 5 years is crazy, but I mean, Trent Frederick just signed 8. And I don't think any of us would have saw that coming. And it's like you kind of get a lower.
Nor would you want to do it.
No, and I don't hate Trent Frederick. He was pretty effective. Like, he could skate well. He just didn't do a lot. I felt like he really succeeded when the Bruins were very good, right? Like, when they sucked last year, he was brutal. And then he broke his foot. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to be Tanner Jeannot's biggest fan, but
I think originally the outlook on it was, and we had the conversation when we were having lunch after watching the dev camp stuff, was just if you had the intention of getting him and he's playing on that third line and you're going with two other pieces on that line, which are going to be youth, that's, I think, when my mindset changed a little bit. And I was more so on the train for it and not as upset, just because it makes sense. I mean, we've talked about this, ad nauseum sometimes. The whole Frederick thing, what he brought. I'm not a Freddie hater. I thought he did good with the Bruins. I you know what I mean? He was kind of brought up in the system. But just as what he really brought, I think you're going to get more out of Jeannot. He's going to hit guys. And also just the safety net of having a guy like that with some youthful players. But now we're in the confusing part because you didn't just do that. You went out and took roster spots from guys that we thought might have had a chance this season. So I'm looking forward to getting into that in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, last thing I'd say on Jeannot is they have these J Fresh is on Twitter. I'm sure Jake probably follows him as well.
Is that Jordan Smoltz?
No, he's a good follow too, actually. He had a funny tweet about he thinks Elliot Friedman would have his divorce before.
Yeah, I saw that. That was funny.
But no, Jay Fresh just posts these like analytical cards. Like, Jake, can you see this? Fuck. They look like.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
So, I'm not someone who takes those stats as like end all be all, but the only good thing on his card is his even strength defense. And I think that makes sense if you're going to put him on a team that is like, or on a line that's young. So maybe that's the idea is you just have him, you're not looking for goals out of him and you're looking for a guy who's physical, plays responsible defensively, and you can put him with like Minton and Patras. But either way, it was a bit of a head scratcher. And like we just said, all of the signings cumulatively didn't make a ton of sense just because they have too many guys now and they still don't have a good top six, right? So I don't know. We can move on. The only thing I would say to wrap that up is I think Sweeney's frustrated with how the last year's went. I feel like the move is because he wants a lot of competition within the group. He doesn't want to give a spot to Lysell and have a terrible team again. So I think that's the thought process. Now, did he accomplish what they need the most? I don't think so, but I'll throw it to you guys, Arvidsson. I'm sure you're probably a little happier about that, Jake.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to bring up next too. So glad you did. Yeah, I think it's perfect. I mean, like, it wasn't anything I think we needed to do, but it's $4 million on a 1-year deal. There's potential there. Like, he used to be a really good player in Nashville. I know he had some struggles in Edmonton. He was good sometimes, some bad sometimes, but it's a guy that could work out for sure. And if it's not a great fit, it's a guy you could probably move at the deadline and get some assets, because I'm sure a playoff team will be looking for a guy like that. What do you guys think?
You could retain half his money, and then he's $2 million, and
That's true.
Somewhere for sure. And yeah, I mean, you don't have to overpay like, I don't know, somebody else to do a similar job. I saw that he had a lot of rush statistics. He was good on the rush.
He's good on the rush. He shoots a lot too, which we do need.
Shoots the puck. So yeah, JB, any thoughts on RD?
I was happy with it, honestly. I think it does fill somewhat of a need. I mean, you needed a right winger, so that helps. And I think it's just where they were at and the way that I guess the cards fell. I think it was a good signing. Jake just pretty much alluded to it that, you're only tied in for it for the year. If you do need to move him, I would imagine he's going to have a decent enough season that other teams will look at him as an asset. So, yeah, I think he'll be good. What's the age on Arvidsson? I think we said it like 32, 33.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, familiarity with Marco Sturm. He's Swedish. A lot of Swedes on this team now, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it was just quickly I pulled up his stats. So I was looking let's see. Yeah, so in 22-23, he finished with 59 points, 26 goals, 33 assists.
What year was that?
The 22-23 season.
So the year of the Bruins. I think they're just trying to find players who did well the year the Bruins had the best season of all time, it sounds like.
Pretty much, yeah. It was just finding guys that, there was something in the air during that season. So
Until there wasn't, right? Until there was.
well, the oxygen just went away. There was nothing. But
All good things have to come to an end, I guess. But yeah, I mean, he fits a bit of a hole or fills a bit of a hole. It's not Brock Besser. It's not Nikolai Ehlers. But, realistically, they got a lot of depth. They want to be competitive and they're going to make the youth earn it. So instead of having 3, 4 guys who are rookies and don't have a ton of experience, aren't super physical or good defensively, maybe 1 or 2 of them make it and have to really earn it. And then you see more out of them because they have legit guys behind them like Kuraly. And let's talk about that. I mean, dude, what is their fourth guy? Excuse me, their fourth line going to look like? Is it Kuraly, Jeannot, Kastelic? I mean, that is a weapon fourth line. Like they focused free agency on their fourth line.
I mean, I feel like you'll see the lineup, especially the bottom 6, just moving around constantly
Until
I
they
mean-
find like, if a line gets going. But yeah,
Think about this. Right now, I'm looking at just the cap projections, so not even like line projections. Jeannot, Kuraly, Patra, Kusadinov, Kastelik, Isamont, Johnny Beecher, and then you got Fraser Mitten, Fabian Lysell, Georgi Merkulov. That's a lot of guys.
12 guys in your bottom 6. Maybe that's their strategy. Maybe they're like, dude, let's just throw 12 guys out there. Let's put a lineup of 24 forwards out there and see if anyone notices.
and
Providence Bruins versus the league.
yeah, I did see a couple of those comments that the P Bruins are going to be sick, but you know what that immediately makes me think
What?
is that at some point today, or probably just I guess leading up to this, that Don Sweeney was not 100% obviously committed to making a move for a guy like Besser. And I guess
So we just had technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, go back to what you were saying about Brock Besser and Don Sweeney.
yeah, I mean, was really just getting into, I guess, Don Sweeney's thoughts maybe on Brock Besser and I guess the situation and not, my personal opinion when you were talking about it earlier. And I think it was more so we were kind of talking about how many guys they added and, what the thought process might be. It's like if you don't feel super committed to the idea of locking someone up for the next 7 years in a Brock Besser and taking away, that spot, I mean, is now on lock and no one's moving up. This way, if you have a couple of guys thinking, just course of conversation here, Fabian Lysell, Fraser Minton, you got Matt Patra. So you have a bunch of guys, we just brought it up, that if some of these guys look good and they're making a run for a spot, who knows, maybe even middle 6, more so on that second line. I mean, and Brock Besser isn't performing. Now everyone that hates Don Sweeney, which a lot of people already do, is just, fueling them even more. So that was really my thought. I don't completely hate it. I think if you're not completely looking, it's almost like buying a car, boys. We're making a huge purchase, right? The shoes, when you're going shopping, if you don't love them, right, you're not going to wear them.
Yeah.
If you don't see yourself in them. I mean, I think it was one of those situations, but who knows?
Yeah, and also like I was just saying too, who knows if they even had a chance? Maybe this was just a backup plan. But it does go back to you could waive a lot of the guys they got. Like at the end of the day, besides, you probably don't want to waive like Jeannot, but Arvidsson's done. I don't think you're gonna need to waive him. But Kuraly, Easimont, like if one of those guys doesn't work out, Tufty, you can send him down, and it's not a huge deal. So, I mean, a lot of talk about the fact that Brad Marchand's making 5.5, and Arvidsson and Jeannot are making whatever they're making, 7.4, essentially what Brock Besser would have made. But yeah, I mean, it's also important to consider maybe a lot of guys didn't want to come to Boston right now. Genuinely. Like maybe they didn't have a ton of interest, which I would find a little hard to believe, but it's possible.
I mean, they are just in a weird spot. Like, I think we really are on the brink of like seeing how all of this is a huge season, boys. Like, Matt Potter's had some time under his belt, spent a lot of time down in Providence last year. Obviously, Fraser Minton was newer last year, but I think he'll pan out. But this year really is. I mean, we've talked about Fabian Lysell a ton, and that just seems like more and more it's becoming a pipe dream. But it's like if they don't start performing this year, I mean, it's hard to see what the future of the Bruins really holds. Whereas if those guys do show you some type of hope, that's when I think you start looking, next year, maybe the year following, that guys on the outside are looking at this Bruins team like, hey, this could be a good opportunity to jump on board.
Jake, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, completely agree. Definitely expect a lot out of Patra this season. I think we definitely rushed him. What was he, 19 when he was on the Gulf Storm and he impressed at camp, and they were like, hey, let's give you a little test run, and decide to keep him up there. He had a pretty good rookie season. Then it kind of seemed like it all caught up to him a little bit. Obviously, he got sent back down to Providence, but you kind of look to see that that first glimpse we got of him back and at a more consistent level. So yeah, definitely curious to see what happens. I will say, I think we're looking at Gavin McKenna odds next year, boys. I don't
Really?
see this team doing much. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No.
Which is fine. If there's a year to do it, it's next year, because supposedly this draft is stacked, and obviously you have a generational talent, which everybody's saying he is. So, I mean, if you get him somehow, change your franchise. I mean, we just saw the Islanders jump up 10 spots in the draft, so anything could happen there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there is an interesting discussion about like they are in a weird spot, like what's gonna happen. I don't really agree with the idea that they got these guys to sell at the deadline. Like I understand Arvidsson makes sense. Like, yeah, if he doesn't work out or the Bruins just aren't good, they could do that. I don't see them really wanting to start this season with that approach. I genuinely, and I listened to Don Sweeney's presser a little bit. He mentioned just trying to insulate the core with guys who are competitive and will drag them into the fight. And I think he genuinely wants to roll four lines. Like, I think that's what it is. And I think he took a lot of gambles. Like, he got Tufty back. Let's be honest, boys. Like, that season last year was a season from hell. Started with Swayman, the coach being a lame duck. And then, like, you talk about Patra. Like, I don't think a guy like that's in a good position to flourish in his sophomore season on a terrible team like that had those problems, that then traded their captain. Like, it was a nightmare. So I don't know. I think he is looking at the core and saying, I think we can slowly take a step forward this year. Whether that happens or not is yet to be seen. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. It's definitely going to be an interesting one.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I think the conversation too should be like, we're not there yet, but where you just mentioned insulating the core. I mean, you look at David Pastrnak, like they tank again next year. I mean, how many years until Pasta's like, dude, this is brutal. All my boys got traded away. He's probably right now still in kind of the belief thing where, I'm believing in what they're trying to do. But I mean, I also don't think you can just go years with, because all right, did you go and get Gavin McKenna? Like,
how long until he's
are you even getting him? I mean, the draft to me too is always just so, it's so unpredictable. Like,
That kid would be able to step right in and make an impact. I'll tell you that much.
that's if you're getting the one spot, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You
that's
could also tank and not
specifically.
get it. And
I mean,
what
I
are
think
your odds? Like, they're pretty bad,
yeah, definitely. I think I mean, use this as a good runaway to get into the draft, but I think like a guy like James Hagens, expecting a big year from him at BC, and then to step in the NHL. I mean, the expectation is, I mean, he kind of wants to jump right in, but he's definitely not ready this year. Um, expect him to go back to BC, have a big year. I mean, let's be real. That was Ryan Leonard's team last year, and he kind of took a little backseat on that line. I expect him playing with Teggy. Fumble fucking my words right now, boys. Teddy Stiga to really take charge of that team. I mean, that's literally Boston Bruins juniors right there. They got like 5 draft picks on that team. Expect him to not lead the nation in points, but to be right there, 50, 60 points. And I think he'll do it. And then I think he'll be ready to step into the NHL at the end of the college season and be a good player for us. So, I mean, I think that's a guy that can really change your franchise. I mean, he was projected 1 overall. I think he could potentially be the best player in that draft.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, we watched him today, like, and I heard you just mention Stiga. I think I heard somebody else talk about the fact that he had played, someone who was watching their games a lot had said he played better with Stiga. Like it just seemed like their play styles fit better than Leonard, and it is ridiculous the amount of people. I heard 98.5 today because I was doing a lot of driving. Those
Brutal.
guys are just brutal, man. But they're like freaking out saying it's a terrible pick, and their thing is because he's a local boy, which he isn't, but he does play locally.
Yeah, that's what they mean when they say local boy. BC kids.
No, I understand, but it's just like it was also the best player available. Like I understand that in the past they've done that, but this is not the same thing. But um talking about him underperforming, like he didn't underperform. He was a
Not at all.
freshman playing on a top line and put up a pointer game. Like that's not underperforming. That isn't blowing shit out of the water, but it isn't underperforming.
Dude, college hockey is insanely good. The days of the CHL being a lot better than college hockey are far over. I mean, this is where you want your young talent developing.
Yeah.
They're playing less games. They're in the weight room. They're getting stronger. They're playing against guys that are a lot older than them. I mean, some of these guys are fucking 24 years old. Like,
Structure too, right? Like
yeah,
even
I
the
mean,
coaches. There's some high level coaches in college.
the kid lit up World Juniors. I think he had more points than Perot and Leonard on that team, and they won gold.
Mm.
I mean,
He's an exciting player, and I think he's got a lot of room to grow. I agree. I wouldn't think he's going to make this team, even if he looks close. Like they clearly
you let him
signed,
develop, let him continue to develop, get stronger.
they signed enough guys too. I don't think they're going to
Yeah.
be pushing for him. Um, but yeah, he's an exciting one for sure. I think he'll be. Hopefully, he's the future of the Bees, and he looks good today. AJB, I mean, he was ripping pucks. Good skater. Like he's just got all the tools.
Something we talked about too that I want to bring up is you said it pretty much right away was seeing some type of leadership qualities, which I feel like is hard to really see in like young talent.
Yeah.
And I mean, I thought from like the amount of times that we were watching them go in different drills, like every time they would switch, the ice was broken up into 3 different sections. Every time they would start, it seemed like he was one of the first ones to go every time.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned, obviously, everyone knows he was the highest draft pick, and Bruins haven't had that in a long time. But, that's something I look at. Also, Jake, you brought it up just about what college hockey provides. And then also, what his freshman season looked like. I saw a stat or just something that had come out that he was roughly 170 pounds his freshman year. As of right now, he stands at 190 pounds. So, I mean, if he can kind of stay with that and keep just getting stronger, I mean, that's what you love to see as a Bruins fan that just drafted James Hagens. So I agree with you, Mike. 98.5, bunch of losers, just haters. But
Well, in a way, man, like I almost respect them because they've made a living, and that guy, Felger, he's got a house in Nantucket, like well off. Just being kind of like clickbait, rage bait, like they just say whatever comes to their head. They're like the biggest, for obviously now everything's different. You can listen to the Gross Hockey podcast, but for a while, you just had to turn on that thing to hear about sports. And those guys pretend to be like experts on all teams. They're not. They're just fucking chilling. They're on their boats, chilling on the beach, whatever they do. And they just they regurgitate things they've heard. So enough about that. But yeah, I mean, back to what you said about Hagens at the camp. I thought there was a lot of moments where he was like vocal, and you said he was leading the drills. But there was even this one where they were shooting a puck in the air, and he had to bat it down. And like you had mentioned it, like you can kind of see how competitive he is, even in a silly drill like that. Like he was slamming his stick. He's a competitive kid, and that's the other thing you're looking for in a draft pick and a guy who you want to be a first line center is a guy who legit lives and breathes the game, wants to be physically ready for the NHL soon, and is already thinking like that kind of stuff. So the fact he fell to 7, I think is a blessing for the Bees.
Yeah, to build off what you were just saying there, Mike, this kid is obsessed with hockey. Obsessed. I mean, first day in the Bruins jersey, he had like what 3 flight delays. Got in at 4 a.m. They were like, "You can sit out if you want." He's like, "You'd have what do you say? You'd have to break my leg to not let me go on that ice or something."
Cut it off. Yeah.
Cut it off. Yeah, even better.
Yeah.
Like he wants to be the best, and he's a hard worker. Like JB just said, he gained 20 pounds in his freshman season. Like that's huge. Kid clearly just wants to be great and be the best fucking hockey player in the world. Like, not saying he will be, but like that's the attitude you want. He's a hard worker. He's determined. So, a lot of high hopes for Jimmy Hagens here.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about development camp is just one of the thoughts I had too is just when you have a prospect in your system, the rest of the guys kind of follow suit. Like if you draft a guy like Connor McDavid, I know it's a crazy, I'm not comparing him, but all the other prospects are now like looking at this guy. And then when he plays for the Oilers, every player is following that guy. So it's so important to have a guy in your system who your Will Zellers, Jake, right? Like we watched that kid too. He looks really good as well. I mean, these guys need some time, but 18, 19 years old, that's a guy who's going to probably look up to a James Hagens. Like he even made a comment about like he thinks in 10 years people are going to look back and say he fell,
Yeah.
way
Still a
lower.
draft.
Yeah. So it's just I think it's important to have that in your system where other players have a bar that they have to look up to that's set. And I think he seems like a good guy for that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Zellers because this is a guy that I think he's gonna light up North Dakota next year. I mean, I expect him to have like 20 goals, honestly. I mean, maybe not like saying points, probably around where Hagens was his freshman year, hopefully, you hope for. But he scores. He's a pure goal scorer, and that's definitely something we need looking forward. So excited for him to what'd you guys think of I hope I don't get it wrong.
No?
The second round pick, what was it? Was it William Moore or Oliver Moore?
I think it was Will Moore.
Okay, yeah, because there's another Moore that was drafted by Chicago that I keep thinking of in my head, but
He kind of looks like you, honestly.
does it? Oh yeah, a little bit.
But no, I thought I mean, he's a big kid. He
Yeah,
looked pretty solid. Like he had a good release. He looked like a good skater. I mean, he's another guy at BC, right? Another American playing at BC.
yeah,
Or James Hagens that the Bruins have. And, that's another guy who's going to grow up with Hagens in the Bruins system. So, I mean, I didn't have a ton of thoughts about him, but to tie it to like the Bruins and what we just were talking about, I'm looking at their projected lineup right now. And I just feel like a lot of these moves are, besides Jeannot, are guys who were signed to what, 1-2 year deals. I think it's with the idea in mind that some of these guys are going to start really making a push, and you just want to have those spots filled by competitive players until then, you know?
absolutely. And you don't want to be tied down for too long on guys you're not completely sure about, which is the only problem I have with the Jeannot signing because the 5 years. If it was 2 years at that number, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
But 5 years, it's
But the one thing to say about that though is that we've talked so much about the cap. Like the average contract in the NHL is going to be 5.5 million in like 2-3 years. So
yeah.
he's going to be making fourth liner money in 3-4 years. Is he a little overpaid right now? Probably.
You're
But
right. But like, I don't know. I think that's like talk about Florida a lot, but like obviously you got it's hard to like. Obviously, we're nowhere near competing with them, but like when you got guys like that taking like discounts like that, where you want everything as low as possible, the term, like I don't know. It's just I feel like those moves with the cap are still so critical, even with the cap going up as much as it is.
Yeah, I mean, I almost view it like they're trying to wait for Florida's like surge here to stop. Like you
Bring
said,
on their downfall.
they're not competing with them next year. Like they have
Dude,
their former captain on their third line. They're stacked. Like this team is not beating them in a playoff series. But in maybe in 2, 3 years, you're looking at a team that has slowly gotten better. And maybe, one of these guys, whether it's Hustadinov, Minton, AC Mont, maybe Jeannot turns it around in some way. One of those guys sticks and turns out, and these are all like little lottery tickets. And then you let the rest of them go and you put youth in that has earned it and you bring in a different free agent or whatever, and you just start to like really build out that like competitive um you know that window, because they're not in their window right now. And I think it's just delusional to think they could be. Maybe if they got Brock Besser and another guy, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the way they're trying to go.
yeah. Um, what did you guys think of Dean Letourneau today? I know obviously our first round pick last year didn't have the greatest season at BC. Definitely obviously looking for him to make a lot of progress this year. Um, what would you notice about it with him?
JB, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, he's another one. I think for his size, the biggest takeaway I had from today is that he moves well. I thought he was a pretty good skater, has a good shot on him. I know it came out that he was injured for the first half of that year, obviously with a hand injury, so that's never easy either. So yeah, I mean, it's hard too seeing just it's drills, passing drills, and taking the puck and shooting. So it's really hard to get a complete gauge on, I guess, where he's at. That'll be more so, I think, towards the end of the week when we get to see some clips from the inter scrimmage, I guess. Um, so yeah, I thought he was good. I think he'll be decent. But yeah, more to come, I guess.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, I thought he didn't really look like he stood out a ton to me, but I think he's a project, right? Like those kids like take a little bit longer. He's 6'7". Like I'm not preying on him to be their savior, but if he ends up being a third line center or second line winger, third line winger, you know, I mean, we'll see. But what was your guys' favorite moves from the Bees this today? And you maybe weren't a huge fan of it. Like Jake, I don't think you were a huge fan of what they did at all, but I'm sure you had one that was like you're happy about.
Yeah, I think the Isamont is a good deal. They got him on a good number. And he's a good bottom six guy. Yeah,
Pest forecheck. Yeah.
yeah. He looked uh pretty good when he was in Tampa. I thought I saw maybe him in a different jersey, so maybe he got dealt at the deadline this year.
Seattle he was playing for, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so I didn't get to watch him in Seattle at all, but when he was on Tampa, definitely liked his game, and I think they got him on a good number, so I was definitely happy about that one. And like I said, Kuraly, I mean, love the player. It just like you have a lot of guys like that, but I still love Kuraly, and it got him in a good number as well.
Yeah, man. You want to name any other names? I have nothing to say.
Sorry, you could disagree with me.
Yeah, but that kills me inside. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I agree with Jake. The kid is on one this pod, but yeah, I agree with both of them. I was gonna say Kuraly, same thing as my second choice, and more so, I think he played with the Bruins that we loved. He was in that locker room. He knew what they meant, and he just brought energy. And I think that that's something that at the end of it, what are they really trying to do right now? And it's retain this culture. because there's been a lot of turnover. You lost Brandon Carlo. You moved on from your captain. And I think what they're trying to do also is keep the culture alive, which you still have that. You have Pasta, you have McAvoy. But I think bringing a guy in like this, that's a high energy guy, he might loosen some guys up in the locker room. That's what you want. So I would say Kuraly, and that's kind of my reasoning behind it.
Guy scores big goals too. Something we haven't been lacking on our bottom six. I mean, obviously not playing for too much these days in big games, but type of guy you want.
Playing for pride.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's had some down years, but it's also kind of the veteran stuff, right? I mean, like you said, JB, I mean, they're moving in a new era here. And let's be honest, like you look at their lineup, it's patchwork. Like you have Elias Lindholm. He's Patrice Bergeron light. Casey Middlestat. He's David Krejci light. Like this isn't a team that you're trying to say this is like the best team in the league, but you always have to take a step back. And for so long, the Bruins never took a step back. It all came to a peak in that 2022-3 season. They went all in. They made maybe the Panthers team is the best team ever now, you could say, but like the Bruins team that year was just unstoppable. Obviously, then they were, but even after that, they didn't take a step back. They named Brad Marchand the captain, and they went right out and tried to win a cup again, and they fell short. And I think this season just proved like you gotta just take a step back. You gotta sell some pieces and try to give yourself, a window in a few years to get back into that competitive state. So, yeah, guys. Overall, I mean, a little bit of a downer day. I think we were all hoping for a bigger name. We'll see how it all turns out. My answer to that was Tanner Jeannot, by the way. I'm gonna go way off the board. I know you're gonna think I'm crazy. I think Tanner Jeannot turns it around in Boston, and I think it's a gamble, but I think it turns out. I think it works. So that's my pick. And yeah, I'm just gonna go with glass half full here. Like I don't think they're gonna win the cup. Let's have some fun. I was surprised. I thought they pushed out some of the youth, but those guys, everyone's got to earn it. So we'll see. Any closing thoughts from you two? Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think I got anything else.
They're shaking their heads for the audio listeners. All right. No, sounds good, guys. Well, as always, good chatting with you. And we're going into the off season where there's not going to be a whole lot. So we're going to have to really get creative with our would you rathers and what would you do situations. So looking forward to it, boys. All right. Thanks if you're listening this far.
Oh, wait. One more thing I want to bring up. Not Bruins
check
related,
in with your doctor if you're listening this far. All right, Jake, what do you got?
I thought this was pretty weird. Wasn't expecting it at all. But did you guys see Brent Burns signed in Russia?
What?
Maybe I hope it wasn't a meme account that I saw.
You definitely got memed, bro.
I saw he signed in the KHL.
There's no way he did, bro. There's no chance.
Let me see if I can find it, but
it's like it was Pierre, it was Pierre Maguire. He tweeted it.
Let me just look up his name on Twitter.
It was not Danny Heatley on Twitter. Broke it.
If true, pretty crazy. Yeah, dude. Oh, it's Frank Saravelli.
Dude, what's crazy now is like you can verify yourself on Twitter and it doesn't mean you are the person you're saying you are.
Yeah, this account's verified too. I just looked at it quick, I guess. Damn. Well.
Wow. That's how we're going to open the
I got.
Brent Burns signs in Russia for some reason, even though his family's in North Carolina. All right.
Yeah, probably should have just let you end the pod there.
No, I love that. Keep it interesting. So, yeah, that's all we got. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
I bet you never noticed I could tell you what I wanted, and you never really stopped to think about going backward. Lose track of